Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Ahead at the Apex. It has been a while. It has been 2 weeks, but I am Josh, and I'm once again joined by Tim. Say hi, Tim.
Hi.
And it really feels like it's been like months since we last did this.
Yeah, especially I think we both started to get used to the every week because we had our bonus series over the last over the last month and a half.
Yeah.
And it just felt like we were doing these all the time. And then suddenly all the Triple Crown events finished and there was a week without it. And I thought, wow, what are we doing?
Where's this free time come from? Yeah. And even, updating the website, that slowed down because there was fewer things to talk about. And we didn't have to do our research and our sheets and we didn't have to come in here and record.
Just got to dust off.
Glad we didn't though, because there is absolutely no aircon or airflow in this room.
I know.
And it was 30 degrees last week, so I'm glad.
We had a good respite.
And this window behind me points at the sun, so glad we didn't do that.
Cooking like a greenhouse.
Yeah. So today we have got a few things to talk about because actually there has been quite a lot of racing since we were last talking. So we've got one of each. So we've got the MotoGP Grand Prix in Mugello, and we've got Formula One Grand Prix in Canada, and of course we've got a little bit about Le Mans to talk about, which happened just after our last recording, so we did miss that. But we're going to start with the bikes. So Mugello was pretty exciting, right?
Yeah.
A pretty good track. I love that. I love the track at Mugello. I think it's one of the best Italian circuits, perhaps better than Monza.
Monza is
Don't at me.
iconic, but does not always deliver. Race-wise.
Doesn't always deliver race-wise. The observation capabilities for fans, not great because it's in the middle of a forest.
Yeah.
Gravel traps are perhaps too small these days for Formula One cars, maybe. High curbs, not great. Just, and Imola, as we've discussed, we think we've outgrown
it's too
Imola.
Narrow, yeah.
So, Mugello. Loved Mugello. Loved it when Formula One went there. And it is a great bike track because those fast sweeping corners become actual braking zones, which is nice. Probably not going to go into a huge review of the race because realistically, it was the first few laps of both the sprint and the Grand Prix that were exciting. So we had Mark win, obviously, because it's 2025. And why wouldn't Mark have won the Grand Prix?
Well, it didn't look that clear at the beginning of the race.
He had a bad start in the sprint and he didn't have a great start in the race either. But he's inevitable. Let's be real.
Yeah, his time management just seems to be on a different planet.
Yeah, and we're about to approach
else.
Assen and then Austria and Sachsenring and all these circuits that he's, the record holder for number of victories at, and it just seems like this is it. The first half of the season is kind of done, and that's where Mark's bogey tracks are, and it's kind of over. I think he's got it, but he did take a huge. I wouldn't call it a record because it wasn't really a record, but he hit a huge milestone. Is that the right word?
Yeah, that's a nice way.
93 Grand Prix victories for the number 93, which is very impressive. And that's over all categories.
Yes.
He only has 67 in MotoGP. Of course, for him, it is MotoGP that was the premier class. But for some people on that list, it was the 500cc category. So they are together. But which is why everybody refers to it as the premier class, because it just means it's the top prototype bike category, I guess. He did have a fight, as you said, Tim, with Alex and Pecco for
first 6 laps they were really scrapping it with each other.
Yeah, and even in the sprint, it was maybe about half race distance when Mark really began to stretch his legs, which seems to just be tire management.
Yeah,
that to me is the only thing I can point to, because it's not that he's significantly faster than everybody else. We've seen him get beaten in qualifying. It's that he's that level of consistency throughout the race.
Yeah.
And to the point
he
where
can stretch that to the end.
Yeah, to the point where as the bike gets lighter, he sets fastest laps.
Yeah.
Right? So he's clearly not taking too much of that out. But I thought it would be classic ahead of the Apex style if we went through some statistics,
Good.
because that's what we're all here for.
I like some stats.
Less speculation, more statistics. So Mark in MotoGP, he has 203 entries, 198 starts. He's taken 6 titles. He has 8 overall, including his 125 and Moto2 titles. He has 67 victories, which is one behind Agostini, who has 68. So assuming Mark wins at the weekend, this weekend, they'll be tied. And then assuming he wins at Sachsenring, which is a good guess that he will, being as he has like 8 victories there already, then he will be only behind Rossi, who has something like 83, something like that. So Mark can't get there this year, but why would Ducati get rid of him?
Yeah.
So, next year there's no regulation change. Why would
You'd
Ducati?
expect
Yeah.
another.
So basically what I'm saying is by the end of next year, Mark can be top on the all-time Grand Prix victories list.
Wow.
And he only has 203 starts, whereas Rossi has something like 380 something. So he started racing in 2008 in the 125 category, and it took till his 3rd season in 2010 where he won his first Grand Prix at Mugello. So that's quite a nice circle.
Yeah.
I say that like he's won his last race, but we assume that he's going to win at the weekend. So why would that be true? He took 7. Sorry, where am I? He took 10 wins that year, which won him the title, promoted him to Moto2, where he took 7 wins in his rookie season and placed 2nd, which is not uncommon. Moto2 is kind of like F2, where once you stick around for too long, your competitive edge sort of falls
off.
But he won in his 2nd season, winning 9 races and taking the title in 2012, and that got him a promotion to Repsol Honda, which is probably how most people remember Marc Marquez. At least for me, that's how that sort of era of Rossi with the blue and yellow Yamaha and Marquez with the black, white, and orange Honda, it certainly sticks out in my mind. And I still see those Repsol Honda type of bikes like on the road, right?
Oh, yeah.
I see very few blue and yellow Yamahas, but I see a lot of those black, orange, and white Hondas. Coming in at Repsol Honda as a rookie is quite intense. It's they were a big manufacturer
competitive
team,
package.
Right? Yeah.
And the expectation was to compete.
Yeah. And to compete meant to compete against Rossi and Lorenzo in Yamaha, who were knocking 7 bells out of each other. Max Verstappen versus Lewis Hamilton-esque on the regular. Even to the point where I can't remember which year it was exactly, whether it was earlier than this or just after this, but supposedly they put a barrier down the middle of the Yamaha garage so that neither side could see what the other one was doing setup-wise and strategy-wise and all that stuff, because they just didn't trust each other at all. So to come in and be kind of the other manufacturer in that fight as a rookie must have been pretty intense. Didn't put him off though, because he took 6 victories that year and won the title in his rookie year.
Which is just such a Marc Marquez thing to do.
It's just insane, right? And he didn't stop there, because he took 13 victories the next year and took back-to-back titles in his first 2 years in the Premier class against Rossi on a Yamaha, which is pretty insane.
Yeah, that is no mean feat.
Yeah, and you could argue, okay, Rossi had been around in the sport by that point for about 10 years. Was he really at his prime? Yes. Go and look at Rossi racing in the late 2010, in the early 2010s and the late noughties. That's the right phrasing for that. And you'll see he was definitely at his prime. 2015 was the big fight with Rossi. That was Mark versus Rossi. And I think the incident that most people will remember is the Malaysia incident, where what's the right way to say this without opening ourselves up for some
no speculation allowed.
Yeah. They had been fighting all year and for the last 2 years since Mark joined MotoGP, and tensions were pretty high, and Rossi didn't trust Mark because Mark was also Spanish, and Rossi believed that Mark was going intentionally out of his way to help Lorenzo beat him. Again, Rossi's so paranoid the whole time. And it culminated at Malaysia, really, where, well, and I guess at the Dutch Grand Prix as well, and yeah, a couple of other races spring to mind. But Malaysia. As they approach the last corner before that back straight, and then there's a hairpin, and then it comes back on itself, right? That's Sepang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mark is around the outside of Rossi, and Rossi is just running him out onto the grass. And there's a moment that was never truly captured on camera with a clear view, where it kind of looks like Rossi kicks him, and then down goes Mark and out of the race. Oh, well, not out of the race. He did pick up, but out of contention. And Rossi obviously denied he kicked him, and Mark said he kicked me, and there was not good for tension in the paddock. But nobody really knows the answer, because the camera angle is from the side-on view. So you're looking at the top of Rossi's knee over Mark's bike. And we've seen, even this weekend, we saw at Mugello, when Alex and Pecco sort of got next to each other, the riders do move their knee to make sure that they're not going to get caught on the bike, because there's lots of various bits on the side of that bike. And it's hard to tell whether he kicked him or not. But just an interesting little story.
Bit of drama.
I think he kicked him. That's my opinion. But it's not fact. and I'd have done the same, I think. So why not get away with it? So he didn't win the title that year. I think Rossi did. And then in 2016, he took 5 more wins in the title. He started a 4 championship streak until injury in 2020, the big Thailand crash, which is just horrific to look at. That flying through the air, flailing through the air, huge crash. And that was kind of it, because as we discussed, maybe even on the very first episode of this podcast, Honda just went into a downward spiral because of we called it the Verstappen effect, but basically the same thing, where they'd focused so much development on this one rider that when somebody else picked it up, it was terrible. He took a year and a bit out for recovery, and that was it. Honda just went down, and Ducati came up. 2024, he made the move to Gresini. He took 3 races that year, and everybody started saying, get him on a factory Ducati, and things aren't going to
go.
Things aren't going to be good for the rest of us. And that is entirely true, because so far this year, he's got 5 wins, two other podiums, 8 sprint wins, and he's leading the championship by almost double his brother.
Yeah.
Right?
He has been the man of the year.
Yes.
In the championship.
In the first 9 races.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And as we said opening this segment, he's inevitable. Even when he has he dropped his bike in Silverstone, right? He still came back to finish second. How did that happen? Because of the red flag and whatever else. But kind of, you'd have looked at that crash at Maggots and Beckett's and gone, well, that's Mark out of the race. And somehow he brings it back.
Exactly, yeah. Circumstance or opportunity, he seems to capture all of it.
Yeah, Le Mans, they gambled on the wrong tyres. Still finished second behind Zarco.
Yep.
He's DNF'd 2 races, right? Maybe. Yeah, 2 races, Jerez and Texas, Cota.
Yeah.
Both of which under weird circumstances of dropping the bike at quite some speed. But other than that, bulletproof.
Yeah, he really hasn't been as close to perfect as one can expect from someone in that capacity.
Yeah. So there will always be an argument over who is the greatest, Rossi or Marquez. I think it's pretty much come down to those two now. But you can't argue that he has taken victories on 3 different bikes, 2 different manufacturers. He's closing in on Rossi's records with 100 fewer Grand Prix. Yeah, Rossi spent some time at Ducati before Ducati were good. That was Rossi's choice.
Yeah. I think the fact that he has won in different teams across different eras is the wrong word, but in a decent spread of time, and the fact that he now is looking so dominant post-injury, it would be a lot to say, he's not in the conversation, which he obviously is, but for him to then win a title and the closer he gets towards the win record, the stronger the argument becomes.
Yeah, and I also think as these sporting categories go on, so including F1 in this actually, records that are set now are arguably more relevant than records that were set 20 years ago.
Yeah, it feels like a different sport.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at the one that always springs to mind is, right, Fangio has 5 titles, in Formula One. When Lewis won his 5th title, far more impressive than when Fangio won 5 titles.
Well, there was only 4 races in his championships.
And most of the people were amateurs and people who just fancy to go, right? Not professional athletes. And kind of the same with some of the sort of race lap records and sort of winning margins that Schumacher had, right? Like he had 3 or 4 drivers to compete against. Everybody else was in cars that were already a lap down by the first pit stop, and not all of them were to the same level of training that he pushed to, right? So you go back to the 90s in MotoGP, or whatever it was branded as, in the 500cc stuff. Rossi's racing against 3 or 4 riders all year long, right? Mark is now competing against at least 5 other Ducatis, plus Quartararo, plus the KTMs. That's a lot of competition.
Yeah, and as you say, the fact that the sports have become higher profile and they've moved toward a sport in the mentality is these drivers and riders are athletes and they have to train like athletes. Whereas in the past, I'm sure, post-race, Fangio just
had a beer and a cigarette. Yeah,
probably. And that was his diet.
That was his diet.
It feels like a different planet right now.
It does,
because of the advancements in science and nutrition and
But even Schumacher, arguably, who changed the landscape for that in Formula One at least, you can see championship celebration pictures of him, beer in hand, cigar in mouth, kind of thing. You never see that from Lewis and Max, right? Ever.
Not anymore.
Just doesn't happen. I mean, okay, Max goes and plays
sim racing
and Minecraft, but
yeah, Max just chooses not to sleep. But that's
Max chooses not to sleep, but that's entirely his decision. But you never see him with cigar in hand, pizza box on the side, kind of thing, right? So I think it's far more impressive records that are set now. The
only one I think that doesn't apply to that is race wins per season, because obviously the number of races that we have at the moment is far, far more.
Yeah, of course. Even now in Formula One compared to the 2010s, right?
Yeah.
There's at least 5-6 more races now than there ever were then.
Yeah.
And there's 10 more races than there were in the early noughties, and there's 15 more races than there were in the 80s, and so on, right? So,
but of course, I don't mean that to be a subtle dig at Max. Take it as a percentage. He's still 96% or something in 22.
Yeah.
23. So wild. But it's interesting that the landscape of all motorsports has, I think, really moved towards sport as opposed to let's just have fun in our cars.
Yeah. Should we move on?
Yeah. We have been waiting for a duel between the Marquez brothers and Pecco all season.
Oh, I was ready.
And we finally got it.
We did. Twice.
Yeah. So the sprint was competitive. They were scrapping, as you alluded to. Mark had a pretty poor start, and that brought the other two very much into contention. But in the race was fierce.
Both got away well.
Everyone got away well. And it was just interchanging the whole way around the first 10 laps.
At least. Yeah.
It's so funny. I watched the highlights again to remind myself of everything before we started. And of the 9-minute highlights, the first 7 minutes, 8 minutes was just laps 1, 2, whatever.
Yeah.
So that was really good to see. And especially in a season where Pecco has at times looked to be not himself, not competing to the level that we expect from him.
Yeah.
It was good that he finally was, or it felt like he was back to his
so he
usual
looked
self.
on the pace of both Alex and Mark, and he looked comfortable enough on the bike to fight, which is good. And those shots of them both diving into turn 1, being the last on the brakes, the bikes are almost leant over at 50 odd degrees, squirming around on the brakes, and neither one of them wants to give it up. So cool. So impressive to see. Because that is, I think they get up to, 350k on that straight alone. And then they're slowing it down to take a hairpin that's banked and uphill, and, the bikes are sliding, and they're watching each other to see the last person who breaks, and then like Alex is just hanging back and he sweeps through, and so good to see.
And they had their mini incident in
they had their McLaren
turn
moment,
1,
didn't they?
Well, not as dramatic.
Turn
1 of lap 3.
Turn 3.
Yeah,
it comes
beginning
back
of
round.
lap 3.
You're beginning of lap 3.
And there was a bit of a collision. Was it a slide? Was it a
It kind of
move?
looked like Mark chopped the line a little bit, but also Pecco was sticking his front wheel up the inside, and there was no way he was going to make it through. And a little bit of damage to the front of Pecco's bike didn't stop him though, did it?
No.
Apparently, he took a chunk out of his tire. He said out of the race, and that was why his tire wear dropped off dramatically at the end.
Yeah.
Not sure how much I believe that. Haven't seen the tire, but
Yeah. Show us the tire.
show us the tire, man. We want proof.
But yeah, he held on for another, as I said, 6, 7 laps after that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And it was only, as you said, in the later stages of the race when his tires just seemed to fall away.
Yeah, it seems that the real advantage of Mark is tire wear, and the kind of the strength of Alex and that GP24 is tire wear. So you just see everybody else sort of all slow down at the same rate, kind of maintain position, right? We didn't see many overtakes, maybe Didier, which we'll talk about soon. And Mark's just pulling away 2 seconds in front. No problem.
It's interesting you say that, because when you look at the F1, and again, I know we're jumping between sections a lot here.
We are multidisciplinary. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we use a kosher. But McLaren's main advantage for a lot of this year has been, or other people have considered it to be, tire wear.
Yeah.
About their ability to control the tire temperature and extend the lifetime.
Tire water, right? That whole story.
Obviously, yeah. And it's just interesting that in both series, it is, or it feels like, the defining characteristic of these packages. And I think you wouldn't really have ever considered that as an important, or the important factor.
No, it has rather taken away from this, the fastest person.
Big
the
engine,
fastest car
big
wins,
aero
right?
is better.
Yeah.
No, it's like, actually, could you go a bit slower,
please?
but all of the time?
Yeah. I mean, it's 2023 Verstappen, right? As well, because that car wasn't necessarily the fastest in qualifying. We regularly saw him not on pole and having these epic fights back through the field. I mean, Belgium and Miami spring to mind from that year. I know he was penalised as well, but he wasn't setting the world on fire in qualifying either. And it was just the relentless pace over a stint, which for MotoGP is the race, right?
Yes.
That's their entire stint is the race. They only ever swap bikes if there's damage or wet tracks. Yeah, it is a shame, I think, because as racing fans, we want to see these guys able to push. As manufacturers, they want to see these guys able to push. So they try and get them into a point where they can push and preserve the tires at the same time. It's never going to happen because then along come Michelin in this case or Pirelli in Formula One's case, and they go, "Clever, are you? You think you're clever? Well,
we'll just make the tire softer.
Here's a tire that's softer. There you go. Deal with that." Yeah, which they're entitled to do, and quite rightly so. I mean, in F1 at least, more pit stops is more exciting, always. I want to see MotoGP riders able to push the whole time, from start to finish, because then you're really testing their capabilities, right? Once you see Mark get into a rhythm, that's it. Bye bye. See you later. And that's a bit of a shame. Back onto Pecco though.
Yes.
So a lot of people, I've heard a lot of other podcasts, saying things
there are other podcasts.
Apparently so.
Oh my
saying
God.
things like it's
an epidemic.
This is the end for Pecco, right? Because Aragon was a flash in the pan. Mugello should have been his best circuit. Most of his other good circuits have been and gone, and he didn't do very well at. And if he couldn't turn it around on Ducati's home soil and his home soil at a track that he knows like the back of his hand and he's had great success at, when is he going to turn it around and all this nonsense? I think this is a positive. He knows what the problem is. They can't use the 355 brake that he wants to use, which means he can't properly slide the rear of the Ducati, which means he can't properly turn it, which all of that cornering that he likes can't be done on this bike in its current form. He knows what the problem is. So if he knows what that problem is and he's still putting in third place sprint finishes and fighting for third and fighting for the lead at the start of the race, great, that's a positive. Surely that's a positive. If you'd have told him before the season started, you might struggle to finish third, I'm sure he'd have been disappointed. If you told him 2 weeks ago that he'd be battling for the lead, that's a great good thing. So it's all about how he turns this around now. He has to take this as a positive, and he has to. And
he is third in the championship.
Yeah, I don't know how, but
it's not like he's seventh and dead.
Yeah. So a couple of interesting things came out. I mean, we kind of mentioned it before we started recording. So in his post-race debrief, that's what they call it. We would call it an interview. He discussed about this 355 front brake, which means he can't brake harder on the front to slow the bike down and then apply the rear brake to slide the bike around the corner, which is how those Ducatis turn. That was a problem. He also accused Alex of not racing Marc hard enough, which is a very Marc Marquez move, as we talked about not that long ago.
Yeah, I think that's all gibberish.
I think that's paranoia creeping in.
Yeah.
And he also then was asked about whether or not the GP25 homologation can come in his favor for next year, and then was told by journalists that actually the GP24, the bike he loves so much, can be used next year. He can choose to use it next year because it's already been homologated this year for Grazzini and Morbidelli.
Mm.
So it's part of next year's regulations already before we even get to next year. And the smile on his face when he was told that was unreal. So I think next year he'll be running the GP24.
Most likely.
With whatever bits definitely provide an upgrade to it from the GP25. And I think we'll see a better Pecco next year.
Yeah.
But Mark will be on a GP26 and he'll be 10 seconds up the road. So
yeah, exactly. Comfort for
Alex will be on a GP25. So it'll be Mark, Alex, and Pecco again next year. Obviously, they can't change the engine because that's locked in because they have dominated the sport for so long now that they can't actually change that. But maybe the future is bright for Pecco Bagnaia. That is unless he moves to Yamaha, as he's been linked to. So we'll see.
I think, as you said earlier, what is the point at which you're judging from?
Yeah.
If you judge from the start of the season, yeah, it's bad. If you judge from 3 races ago when he was crashing all the time and failing completely in the sprints and not making much progress in the races, I think a P3, P4 weekend is really strong.
Yeah, he won in Texas and he finished P2 in Jerez. Okay, Mark was out for both of those. But then he double DNF'd at Le Mans and DNF'd at Silverstone. And then came back to take a podium and some good points and some good pace at Aragon and some podium and some, well, not a podium, but some good pace at Mugello. I think he'd be quite happy with that. That's a good bounce back.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what he does. I don't want to put any words in his mouth, but he did well. Let's move it on, because there is one other thing that we mentioned on this podcast, literally the last time out, and I was right. I just want it on record right now. I was right. I called it. If anybody ever questions our expertise, I called this. I said, after we recorded after Aragon, KTM were back. And even though they had a couple of DNFs in Aragon, their pace was good and they were going to be back on the pace of Mugello. And they absolutely were back on the pace of Mugello. And I was right. And they look like the second best team. Yes, in the sprint, both factory KTMs DNF'd. Okay. But Vinales was 4th. And he was fighting Morbidelli for 5th before Morbidelli decided that he didn't need to be in the race anymore. And was given a long lap penalty. And okay, Bastianini was nowhere, right? All weekend, but that's okay. We can basically forget Bastia because he doesn't like that bike, and he's one of these riders who needs a bike he likes to perform. So we can sort of discount him from this. So yeah, Acosta and Binder, they had a good go at the top 6. They finished 7th and 8th. They were 18 seconds behind Mark. Okay, that sounds like a lot, but they were only 2 seconds behind Morbidelli. Yeah, okay, Morbidelli had a double long lap penalty, but they were fighting with the Aprilias, who we know have great race pace. It's good. It's some good track time for Binder. It's some good track time for Acosta, both of whom have had a couple of DNFs lately. I just wanted to slide in that I was right. That's all. It's just a bit of pride.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And also Aprilia, right? We had Bez and Fernandez in the top 6 and Ayagura as well in the top 10. So Jorge Martin might be staying at Aprilia next year based on that. Because
that story's sort of fallen out.
They've got to the Saxon Ring to show some performance, and they are doing everything about showing performance.
Show some performance.
Right. He said, I'll give you to Saxon Ring. And they went, okay, hold my beer. And since then, they've won a race and they've been absolutely one of the best race pace bikes on the grid. Field. It's just that they can't get quali sorted. When they get quali sorted, Bez finishes 5th. Great. Perfect. That's what he has to do. He's in and amongst the Ducatis, right?
Yes.
Just as Acosta and Binder are.
Yeah.
So take that, Martin, basically. What happened 2 days ago, Tim?
Well, big news in the business of MotoGP. There is a big takeover that was approved by the Liberty Media Group, and they are the current owners of the Formula One group to acquire Dorna, which is the current promoter for MotoGP.
Yeah, so I treat this the same way as as Liberty acquiring the Formula One group, which is Dominicali and Braun and all of that lot. Well, not Braun anymore; he's at the FIA, right? But it's that group of people who walk around with the shirts that say F1 on every weekend. It's them that they acquired.
Yes,
and by acquiring that, they can broadcast the sport.
Yes, and I think now's a good moment to consider that deal itself. And the Formula One group was acquired in 2017 with really the intention to make it more accessible and bring more people into the sport and grow the sport, which if you want to take on a monetary basis, they have done brilliantly well.
Huge.
So they acquired it for $8 billion. It's now valued at just over 27.
Yeah.
So significant.
Nearly 4 times the amount.
And I think a lot of that can be attributed to deals like Drive to Survive. The F1 movie, for example, is a good, which came out today, comes out today.
It does come out today.
Day of recording. And things like the presence on social media and the better engagement with the drivers and the expectation that they are more forward facing toward the fans has all contributed to this landscape that it doesn't really matter where you choose to get your content. Formula One will be there and accessible through that, which has worked brilliantly well. And I think it will be really, I imagine they have similar ambitions with the MotoGP.
Yes, I mean, I know I'm deep in this world, and I do follow all the teams on social media and all the I follow F1 and Sky Sports and Sky Sports F1 and so on and so on. But I can't miss a race and then look at my phone without finding out everything that happened, right? But I also follow most of the MotoGP riders and all of the teams and MotoGP and TNT Sports, who in the UK are the broadcaster for MotoGP. And yet I don't see anywhere near as much content, and all I know is who wins the race.
Yes.
Right?
You don't know about the battles, you don't know about the changes of position for 8th.
No.
But you do find that in F1.
Yeah. And that alone, to me, so you would see, I don't know, exactly that. You might see Alex Albon battling for 8th, which you didn't see on the main feed, and you see it after the race, and it's a hugely exciting move. That's going to get somebody watching F1.
Yes, definitely.
But if you didn't see the replays of the battles at the front, or you didn't see Acosta and Binder dueling on the main feed, you'll never see that footage again. Right? That's just the way it is. So I think this is good. This is absolutely good. And, we might start to see more long-form highlights on things like YouTube. We might start to see a documentary series quite like Drive to Survive and stuff like that, which will engage people. Like, okay, Drive to Survive fans in social media situations might not be the most level-headed, but if it puts bums in seats and keeps the sport going and money, I'm so behind it. Fine.
I'm a big fan of it. I remember when Season 1, I think, was pretty universally liked for its intent and its relative objectivity. It was, Season 2, Season 3, where there started to be this rift between fans that were brought into the sport through that then didn't really go beyond it to engage further.
Yes.
And then people that were already accustomed to it. And it created this disparity, which a lot of the fans that were involved found quite frustrating, and that people just wanted the highlight reels and Daniel Ricciardo to laugh and make funny comments.
Yeah.
And that was never really what the sport is. It was this... I don't want to say artificial, but it was this attractive package that was meant to get you in the door, and then once you're in the door, you engage on a wider basis. And I think that subsequent step is now happening a lot more.
Yes.
But I think at the very start of the Drive to Survive, they hadn't worked out, okay, once they're involved, how do we engage them and bring them into the wider sphere?
It's difficult. It is difficult. And starting into a new sport, it's difficult to know who to support. I know I had that when I first got into MotoGP,
which is why
I followed F1 from being a child. So I just supported who the person next to me watching it at home was supporting, because why wouldn't I? And then you get into MotoGP. Well, I got into MotoGP as a teenager a little bit. Who do I support? What do I do? And I own this bike, so should I support this manufacturer to start with? Well, kind of no, because that's not how my perspective aligns. And
Yeah, you didn't
whatever
buy the
else.
bike because you like
No.
the team.
No.
I find it very, very interesting because these fans, and I don't want to appear to be segregating them at all.
No. We're all fans.
We're all fans. But the way that they discuss, they always, primarily they support drivers.
Yes.
Whereas a more established fan will have loyalties to a team.
Yes. Yes.
They'll have drivers that they like. And, for example, I'm a Ferrari fan, but I really like Alex Albon, for example.
Sure.
And others.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of people who would follow Lewis Hamilton around anywhere he went, right? And that's okay. You tend to see that more in bike racing and rally sort of things, right? Where the allegiance is with the guy behind the wheel or the person behind the wheel or handlebars or whatever sport they're racing. Rather than that, whereas I think if you came into F1 in the early 2000s or even the 90s or before that, you're probably going to be team-based, probably. And if you came in once this sort of push on social media started, you might well be a driver fan, right? Because you've aligned with that driver no matter what team they're racing at. I know a lot of old school Mercedes fans who have dropped Lewis like a stone since he left for Ferrari, right? They would walk around in their Lewis Hamilton hoodies when he was at Mercedes, and now he's nothing to them because he's not a Mercedes anymore. They are a Mercedes fan.
Yeah, and, respect to that.
Yeah, fine.
However you choose to engage with the sport and whatever it is that keeps you engaged, awesome.
But I mean, I think this will be
But it's
huge
it will
for
be
GP,
interesting
right?
to
Because-
see if the same thing happens in GP. And if it does, will it have this lag between getting fans in the door and engaging them in a way that gives them a wider appreciation for the sport, as opposed to, I was a fan of that TV series.
Yeah. But even, I mean, there are some MotoGP documentaries that exist. They're on Amazon Prime and you have to pay for them and you have to download them that way.
It needs to be front page of
accessible.
streaming service that is promoted to people that go, wow, that looks exciting.
Yeah.
Which ultimately is how we all pick things.
Yeah.
If it's presented to you on a silver plate going, this looks really fun.
Yeah.
You're going to go, hell yeah.
I'm not being funny. Sky Sports F1 is £46 a month or £52 a month, something around that. You're not going to pay £52 a month for something that is boring.
No.
And you're not, the MotoGP pass was €220. You're not going to pay €220 for something that is boring. So it does need to be exciting, and you do need to quickly transition from this documentary that's like, look how exciting this stuff is, to look how exciting this sport is, and you need to get that.
Yes, that's the key change.
Yeah. A lot of people are wondering whether this is going to be Liberty selling Formula One, because while they have seen nearly a 4 times growth, we're at record numbers, and realistically, going from say 200,000 people per Grand Prix to 400,000 people per Grand Prix is a huge jump. We're going from 400,000 to 420,000 because we've added an extra grandstand. Not a huge jump.
Yeah. Are they approaching ceiling?
Are they approaching their, well, not a ceiling, but their version of a market cap on what they're willing to put into it? There is obviously the Saudi Arabian Sovereign Wealth Fund, who have been trying to buy Formula One Group for 3 years now. And they've been sitting steady at $20 billion as an offer, which is obviously not what it's worth in the market. Could be a time for Liberty to sell, I think, and just move on. But what it has done, this attention on Formula One, is brought interest from some more manufacturers into MotoGP and some more big sponsors. I've heard names like BMW and Kawasaki thrown around, which are obviously names that Kawasaki used to be in MotoGP, but BMW not so much. with KTM's future unknown in the sport, also good news.
Yeah.
Right? We've got a guy coming across from World Superbikes who's been on BMW bikes coming across next year into MotoGP as well, which is, I don't know why the synergy between the two isn't more. So I know World Superbikes is not prototype racing. MotoGP is. They're still bikes at the end of the day, you know? It's not like going from rally cars to velodrome, right? They're still bikes. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, that was announced a couple of days ago and it's very exciting to see. Let's go on to another sport.
Yeah, let's move. Let's talk Le Mans.
Oh, baby.
The big one. And really...
quite dull. Let's be real.
Yeah, quite dull.
If you can condense 24 hours of racing into 24 minutes of highlights, not a lot happened.
No, not a lot did happen. But the storyline is a Robert Kubica.
The only one anybody wants to talk about. Let's be real.
What a story. What a race from him. And we wanted... So he won. Spoiler alert.
If you didn't know, it happened 2 weeks ago.
If you didn't get that, he won the race. And we wanted to plot a pathway from the beginning of his career to now, because it's a really interesting story and is worth being highlighted.
Yeah. So as an F1 fan during this time period of the mid to late noughties, I knew a lot of this already. So when I went and did this research, a lot of it I knew already. What I didn't know is quite how many redemption arcs he's had, right? Like I thought, oh, we'll talk about his redemption arc. He's had like 3, right? So in his junior categories, just before he was due to start in Formula 3, he broke his arm. And he had 18 titanium screws and a plastic brace in his delayed debut in Formula 3 and Formula 2 Euro Series. And not only did he compete with this plastic brace and 18 bolts holding his arm together, he won the first race in Formula 2. So, you know, dotted about the Formula 4 and Junior Formula 3 series, racing the likes of Vettel and Hamilton, finally makes his big break to a Formula 2 series, breaks his arm, and yet still comes back and still wins his first race. Which that whole season got him into Formula 1 tests and eventually led him to BMW Sauber, which is really where what we are going to call his redemption arc starts. But actually, this is just the first part of his Formula 1 redemption arcs, because he joined Sauber in 2006. And he's thrown in at the deep end, really, when Jacques Villeneuve had this crash in Hockenheim and was supposedly feeling signs of concussion, and BMW said, well, he's not fit to race. He's not fit to race. And Jacques was kind of like, what? I'm fine. And they were like, no, sit this one out. You're not fit to race. And so Kubica raced at Hungary in 2006. So remember that, because we're going to tie back to something a bit later on. He outqualified Heidfeld. He finished the race in 7th. He was disqualified for the car being underweight, but that's a BMW Sauber thing, not a Kubica thing. Either way, he beat his teammate. That's kind of impressive. And that shortly after that, for whatever reason, BMW kind of said, well, Jacques not fit to race anymore. And Jacques kind of went, no, I definitely am. And then this rift happened and Jacques left the team. So Kubica just continued in 2006 and got his first podium.
Yeah, third race.
In his third race at Monza. Very impressive. When he raced in Hungary, he became Poland's first F1 driver. In Monza, he became their first pole sitter. And then I think perhaps my most memorable moment happened in 2007, where he had this huge crash at the Canadian Grand Prix, and they always play the replay, and I wish they'd stop playing the replay of huge crashes because it is awful to watch, right? I know that these drivers survived. I know Kubica survived, and I know he was fine, and I know Max survived his Silverstone crash. But imagine if they played the Jules Bianchi crash every time we came to Japan, and it was like Crofty's little intro. That would be horrible. Let's stop.
I think,
please.
Yeah, it's now not such a. It never was a nice thing, but it used to be a whoa. Now it's like,
a 28G crash for Kubica and whatever Max was, 52, 51. They're not nice.
No.
Like, okay, that image of Rubens Barrichello flying over the back of Ralf Schumacher at the Australian Grand Prix. He never even made it to the barrier. So all it was he jumped over a car. He was nowhere near Ralph's head. Show that crash all you want, because that's not dangerous. That looks cool. It's spectacular. But drivers who were concussed and Kubica with his feet hanging out at the end of his car, like limp, let's not show that replay. So if you have seen that crash, it's horrible. And the reason I said, remember that he started in Hungary, was that he had to sit Hungary out. And that gave a young German by the name of Sebastian Vettel his chance in the sport. And we all know what happened there. He moved on to Toro Rosso, won at Monza the next year, and then made it to Red Bull and became a 4-time champion. So thank you, BMW Sauber, for introducing Kubica and Sebastian Vettel into this world, I guess. But he came back in the next race, literally the next race, but 2007 wasn't a great season. In 2008, he gets his first pole position in Bahrain. Not the first race of the season then either. Several podiums, and then redemption arc number 2.
Wins in Canada.
Wins in Canada the next year, yeah.
Unbelievable.
And okay, there was that whole thing of Lewis rammed into the back of Raikkonen in the pit lane because there was a red light at the end of the pit lane and Lewis didn't see it. And that's that whole iconic thing of Kimi tapping his head and pointing at the red light and going, "What were you doing?" Which I think is brilliant. But Kubica still won the race, So fair play. Which was just, that's redemption arc number 2, because number 1 was obviously the junior series. 2009, we've discussed in our Williams talk, not a great year for Williams. So he moved to Renault for 2010, but there was a bit of an issue with his contract. So Renault, after Crashgate, never really recovered properly. And they sold 75% of the racing team to Genai Capital, which meant that Kubica's contract was no longer valid, because his contract was only valid if Renault had the majority stake. And he was sort of tempted to use that clause to break it, because there were rumors he would be signed at Ferrari to replace Massa, who had been disappointing, to say the least, since his 2008 bid. That never came through. Ferrari let him down, so he extended with Renault. But it didn't matter anyway, did it? Because he never made it to the 2011 season.
No, and that was really the big one that everyone talks about, was this huge rally crash he had in advance of the 2011 season. And he fractured his arm, leg, shoulder, elbow, partial amputation to his forearm. Awful.
Yeah.
Awful. And this was, to a lot of people, the end of his career.
A lot of people were like, right, buddy, you need to
stop.
Well done for surviving.
Yeah.
You need to stop.
Take life and go. So he takes 2 years out from the sport to recover.
Yeah.
But
he takes a year out.
Well, he takes a year out and then happens to break his leg.
Again, the next year.
Just slipping on some ice.
Yeah.
Obviously.
He survives this huge 28G crash in a Formula 1 car. He survives the crash Armco barrier, literally. I'm looking at the picture right now and it's horrifying. It goes through the engine bay, through the driving seat and out the back of the car. And yes, the whole right side of his body is injured during that. But he survived this and then slips on some ice. He must have felt like such a mug.
Yeah, but redemption number 3 in 2012, he takes part in a WRC rally event and wins.
And wins, yeah.
Like, what? This guy is a superhero. Are you kidding me? He's only got feeling in 50% of his body, and he's still throwing a rally car around like a nutcase.
Yeah, so it's described as significant muscle damage to the right side of his body, and it's, you can see that. I don't want to point flaws in the guy because unbelievable racing driver, but he can't really hold his right arm properly. There's severe lack of muscle on one side to the other side. But insane, right? And decides, I'm just going to make a rally career now.
Yeah, I'm going to stick around here.
Yeah, why not?
This seems to work okay.
Rally cars and touring cars, right?
But did start testing.
Yes,
single seated again. He tested for Renault in 2017 in Hungary, and also tested at Williams in 2014.
No, he tested a 2014 Williams.
Oh, he tested a 2014 Williams in 2017.
Twice.
At Abu Dhabi, and made his return to F1 in 2019 with a one-off season, moving back to Sauber as a reserve driver.
Yeah.
And competed in 2 races.
Yeah. So actually 2017 was a really weird year. And his, I don't want to say Wikipedia page, but it is his Wikipedia page. He's very unclear, so I had to go deeper. 2017, he arranges all these weird tests. So he tries out for an LMP1 privateer. He tries out in a 2012 Renault. He tries out in a 2017 Renault. He tries out 2014 Williams, a 2017 Williams. He also tries an LMP2 car and a Formula E car, but never goes any further than that. Never elaborates, refuses to elaborate further, competes in all these tests, never competes competitively, right? Until, like you say, 2019. But didn't work out, did it? And then replaces Raikkonen and goes off to endurance racing.
And again, I don't know if you can. There's redemption at 4.5, half of one. He then wins the LMP2 European Le Mans Series in 2021.
Yep.
And joins WEC for the 6 hours and 8 hours of Bahrain.
Gets 2 podiums. Redemption arc number 17,962.
And in 2022, moved to Prima.
Yep.
Finishing 5th overall, and returned to Orlen for 2023 in the LMP class, winning again.
Winning the championship again.
As you do.
Signs for Ferrari, finally.
Finally signs for Ferrari.
Redemption arc
as
number
he's
7.
been waiting for in 2024, and wins the Lone Star Le Mans in September, and is the 3rd driver to win an F1 race and a WEC race alongside Alonso and Webber.
Webber did it the other way around, interestingly enough.
Yes.
Webber came from WEC to Formula One. Alonso obviously went from Formula One to WEC, and so did Kubica.
And this is what I find really amazing is in 2024, the AF course have finished 9th.
Yes.
And then comes into 2025, takes a podium in Qatar, wins Le Mans, just
redemption arc number 8.
Killing it.
Yeah.
And has been there or thereabouts the whole year.
Yeah.
Had a great race in Spa, had a decent race in Imola.
Yep.
What a legend.
And okay, it's a team event, but you can't have 1 weak link in a team event.
You are only as bad as your weakest link.
So it's just hugely impressive. It's just hugely impressive. And all I've seen is plaudits for this guy since he won in the Mans.
Which is lovely. It's because, again, it was always thought that in the absence of the rally crash, he would be in and around the Hamiltons, the Vettels in the 2010s.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's assume that he did take Massa's place at Ferrari.
Yes.
I don't see them signing Kimi when Alonso and Massa depart, right? I don't see them signing Kimi when Massa departs, which means when Alonso departs, they still sign Vettel, and then it's Vettel and Kubica at Ferrari during the 2017 era and beyond. And that would have been one hell of a pairing,
Yeah.
I think.
But he seems to have finally really found his series, and it's great to see.
Yeah.
And is been rewarded with this huge Le Mans win. He had an unbelievably cool quote.
Hit me with the quote.
He said that winning at Le Mans goes beyond sport.
Nice.
I thought, hell yeah.
Nice.
That is epic. So awesome story. Really, really is. And pleased for him.
Very.
Just one or two more quickly about Le Mans. No 20th win for Porsche.
Sad.
Well,
not sad. I'm happy Kubica won.
Yes. But they were gunning for their 20th win. Didn't get it. Settled for second. Oh no. Bless them.
What a shame.
And Cadillac finished fourth. And the reason I want to mention them
They got off to such a good start.
They did, and they were leading. I think they were 1-2 at a period.
Yeah.
And this is very exciting news for F1 fans as they are entering the series come
next year.
Yeah.
2026.
I can't believe that it's next year.
Well, they've still got a seat open if you believe Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a pretty cool reveal, if it was a reveal.
But it's good news because it shows that they are able to compete. And that the Ferrari this year in WEC has been leaps and bounds beyond. Yeah. And the fact that they even momentarily took the lead and finished on the lead lap, good signs. I think it shows that they will be competitive and capable in F1.
I don't think anybody's worried about Audi next year, right? Because Audi turn up to motorsport every time they start a new motorsport and absolutely kill it. So nobody's worried about Audi next year. But
Hulkenberg's winning.
To come
Hulkenberg's podium 2026.
Hulkenberg podium 2026. But for Cadillac and I guess GM to come in as a new team in Formula One historically hasn't gone well. Haas, for instance. Red Bull, I guess, with before that, we're not even a new team, but a new constructor to come in, take over Jaguar. It took them years before they were competitive, and historically hasn't started well. But to see that they're doing good things in endurance
making
racing
moves
is promising.
Yeah,
I've heard Perez and Bottas. Just saying.
Yeah, that's the. Not that we talk about rumor, but yes. The reveal. If you haven't seen Valtteri's video, go and watch it because it is cool. He kind of walks up to a Cadillac, an empty Cadillac, says, "Oh, that's a nice seat," and the guy filming goes, "Do you want to sit in it?" And he's like, "Not yet." I just love Valtteri Bottas.
I think he's great.
I love Valtteri Bottas.
He's really found his groove as a social media influencer lately,
which I never would have thought.
No,
Drive to Survive missed the mark on him big
he's
time.
So unbelievably Finnish about it as well. Like he's just no emotion.
I love the one about when he released that merch and Ted asked him, what's it for? And he's like, it's supporting families that recently suffered an unexpected job loss. This is just after he lost his seat to Kimi. Just hilarious, brilliantly funny.
Fantastic. Okay, with that nice tie, let's move on to Formula One because there is a little bit more to talk about with Formula One.
We've yet to really see a proper scrap between the two McLarens this year.
Yes, it is something that we've always seen when teams become big. We had the
competitive
2014, 2015, 2016, Rosberg and Hamilton. We had the 2010, 2012, Webber, Vettel. We had 2019, Vettel, Leclerc. We had 2017, 18, Verstappen, Ricciardo. I can keep going if you want me to. We had 2022, Leclerc and Sainz. We've had 2004, Schumacher and Montoya.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And it feels like McLaren, despite having their papaya rules or whatever they like to call it, what a lame name, but
Is this the podcast
Papaya
where we finally
racing.
slate McLaren?
No, we're not slating. We are being objective.
I hope my brother's listening.
Papaya rules, which no one knows what that means.
No.
But it all finally culminated really in Canada.
Yeah, so we've kind of seen it build. We saw Hungary last year when Lando didn't really want to let Oscar back through, despite being told.
Which was an error in pit stop.
It was
management.
Was it
twice
last year? Wherever it was where Piastri wasn't going to let Norris through, but was told to. I can't remember exactly which race it was. It was towards the tail end of last year when he still had a chance. And then all the interviews of, do you want to play second fiddle to Lando? And Oscar's just like, absolutely not. And
no. And I think Mark's been in his ear being like, absolutely not.
And was it Miami where Lando was like, oh, well, this is just what it's like racing Max, and Oscar's in the background going, it was fine. It was absolutely fine.
It was fine. I overtook him and won the race.
And the car's not the fastest. Whenever Lando didn't finish on the podium, and he's like, "Oh, the car's not the fastest," and Oscar's in the podium interview, and they're like, "Oh, well, your teammate just said that the car's not the fastest," and he's like, "It absolutely is." It's just brilliant. This whole tension building between them.
There is this.
It was coming. It was always coming.
The feud is getting there, which is exciting to see Oscar feud because he is the most passive guy.
Yeah.
And
it would be like
he has these
right?
this little jabs that he likes to stick in.
Yeah.
And I think they're finally getting a bit more aggressive as the season runs on and the championship becomes closer. And there have been these rumors about how McLaren are going to deal with it when it comes to a point where they need to make a decision between who they want to prioritize. And they have said, or Stella has said, whoever is leading the championship, that will be it. And I think that is the right way to do it. Give them half a year. You know, we're approaching the summer break. Who is ahead? That's the person you bank on. Both drivers have had equal time, equal opportunity to put themselves in that position. You'll have to award the person that has.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at some point it was always going to be a case of this build up between them was going to happen before McLaren have a chance to do something about it.
Yes.
Right? This was never going to happen. This was never going to happen at Brazil at the end of the year when Piastri can win the championship but Lando can't, or Lando can win the championship and Piastri can't, to be balanced in this situation. This was always going to happen towards the start of the year when it was too soon for McLaren to step in and say, listen, guys, sort this out, right? Let's be real about this. You can't win the championship, they can.
Yeah.
And that's just the luck of the draw. I'm afraid it was always going to happen. Jam-sided bread always lands face down, right? This is what's going to happen. But I didn't expect it at Canada when you see that Piastri's qualified in third and Lando's qualified in seventh. And you think there's no way they're going to end up on the same piece of tarmac together. But they absolutely did.
They did. Piastri seemed to not have great race pace and Lando seems to have really strong race pace.
Yeah.
And I think this was the fact that he was out of position allowed him to do the alternate strategy with the hard tires, and that worked really well.
I also think it was a case of the Ferraris had no pace and they were what was in between.
Yeah.
And the McLaren, the Mercedes and Max did have pace. So Piastri couldn't progress through them, but Lando could easily progress through the cars in between them, to the point where they're on track, they're fighting Antonelli, they're fighting each other, and Lando takes one almighty dive bomb into the hairpin.
Yes.
Which is how this started.
Yes.
Piastri sees him
bold
coming.
Move.
A huge move.
Almost paid off for him.
Almost. But Piastri saw him coming. Did the switch back. Out drags him down the start finish, the back straight. Gets on the inside into the chicane. Offline. Has a bad corner exit. that gives Lando the opportunity into turn one, right? So he's set this move up basically from the hairpin down to turn one. And then it all goes a little bit wrong, doesn't it, Tim?
He just seemed to get impatient and go a bit early.
He just kept going left.
And
there was no gap left.
Went into the wall, went into the back of him.
And then into the
which
wall.
happened to also be next to the wall. And there wasn't enough space between Oscar and the wall.
Because it's much better to brake in a straight line. So they always go to the left of that start line.
Yeah.
To brake in a straight line for turn one, so as not to lock a wheel. They all do this. Why did he keep going left?
Yeah, it seemed, and he immediately held his hands up and said, "Look, my error. Not sure what that was," which is, big of him.
It is,
and then throws away
huge points.
And
Piastri's lucky, right? Piastri's lucky to get away with it.
Yeah,
because if that race had been 20 laps longer and there was no safety car, I don't think he finishes fourth.
Most likely, no.
But it wasn't. It was like
because Kimi gets through.
Kimi gets through from the start, jumps him at the start. He's already in fourth
and sat in fourth.
Yeah. But I don't think he finishes fourth because I think without the safety car and the damage and 20 more laps, Leclerc catches him. Hamilton catches him.
Yeah.
So yeah, lucky McLaren get away with that one a little bit, I think. But it's a weird turn one. Do you really want to be on the inside into turn one? Because then you're on the outside into turn two. But also, do you want to be on the outside into turn one? Because they'll just push you off. And then, I should have made the move.
I think it was slightly impatient because they had been racing, or they did race into turn one the lap before.
Yeah.
And despite Lando having much better pace, could not get through.
Mm.
And I think was frustrated by that.
Yeah.
And was just desperate to get past and thought, I can have a go at Kimi. And jumped the gun. But a really weird collision.
Yeah. It does. Really, I mean, collision. It was almost a mirror image of Button and Hamilton in 2011.
Yeah.
Kind of. There was more wheel-to-wheel contact during their collision than there was with Oscar and Lando. But almost exactly the same place. And what it does mean is we're now due a Mercedes crash, historically speaking.
Right.
We haven't had the Red Bull one, which
I don't think that's going to happen.
There was a Red Bull one in 2010, and then there was a McLaren one in 2011, and then there was a Mercedes one in 2016.
So the next one is Mercedes.
Historically speaking, and then there'll be a Ferrari one. But we kind of had a Ferrari one. We had a Red Bull one between the Mercedes and the Ferrari one, rather than a Red Bull one after the Ferrari one. But history will come back around.
Speaking about Mercedes, though, this is another year where seemingly
what's going on with them in Canada?
Out of nowhere, they show up to Canada and just crush it,
have pace. They were both podium last year.
Yeah,
I know it was wet last year for a lot of the race, but still,
yeah, and had a good. And last year, of course, performed decently in Austria as well. They always talk about these cooler track temperatures.
Did they perform well in Austria?
Well, he won the race because the other two crashed.
Were they flattered by the crash between Max and Lando?
Well, yes, but he would have been P3.
Yeah, true.
Anyway.
True.
So these cooler conditions really working to Mercedes' favor, but it wasn't that cool.
It wasn't that cool.
So I don't know.
They kind of
came out of nowhere
with a pinch of salt because he's so burnt by the 2021 season that he just refuses to give any information away properly anymore.
Yeah.
And everything he says I take with a pinch of salt. Like, do you really mean that, Toto? Because I don't believe you.
Yeah.
But George, while there was no consistent fastest car in free practice, George was up there. He puts it on pole. Kimi puts it in fourth. Kimi gets a great launch. Yeah. George seemed to have Max beat for most of the race. I think that's fair to say. Every time Max turned the wick up, George responded. Max his tire wear situation is crazy right now because he was trying to pit first every time out of the top 5. And that's not the max we know.
Yeah.
Mercedes had the strategy covered for both cars. You know, they could leave one out. They could pit one early. It doesn't matter. They've got it. And could it be a turning point? Maybe. It's a bit late.
Well, they move up into second in the championship.
Which is a much better second position than Ferrari somehow being in P2. Like, even as a Ferrari fan, how the hell were we P2? I have no idea. Because we've just had nothing but rubbish results most of the season. So
but it'd be interesting
like more
to see
P2.
To see where they sit come Austria.
Kimi becomes the 3rd youngest podium sitter in Formula One history. So he had the chance to be the youngest. Is that right?
Yes, earlier in the season. But he did not.
No, the youngest pole sitter.
He's not been on pole.
He has had a pole. He's had a sprint pole. But he had the opportunity. There's no way he was going to beat Max for podium sitter because Max's first podium is also
16 or something.
Like, 17. We talked about it on this podcast. There was a youngest record he was able to beat but didn't at a certain Grand Prix. Perhaps it was pole. But he's behind Max and Lance on the youngest podium sitters, which is a crazy thing to say out loud.
We got Baku
2016?
Yeah.
Williams?
Yeah, with Williams. 17.
Yeah, 17. Because Bottas was at Williams in 2016.
Anyway, he is, by far the rookie of the year. Hadjar's sort of fallen into non-existence in the last few races.
He got points.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's dead. I'm just saying he's not. He had a few hero drives and he did disappeared a bit.
He still impressed me a lot.
Oh, I don't mean to
diminish him,
but Kimi is the rookie of the year,
and touch wood, no Mercedes engine issues.
First time in a long time.
First time in 4 races. Yeah.
So maybe they finally.
It's the cooler temperatures, man.
100, obviously.
Listen to Wolf. It's the cooler temperatures.
Obviously, the cooler temperatures where the track was 50 degrees.
Yeah. That's what did it. Okay, well, that's it. That's the end. We made it.
That's the end. Bye. that felt really blunt.
I can actually say this hand on heart, honestly. Single thing we've just talked about is currently on the website.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I worked really hard to make sure that everything was out before we recorded. Whereas in the past, things have been in the works and they've been published before this has been published. But this time,
we're running to schedule.
We are running to schedule aheadoftheapex.com, although you might have to go through blog.aheadoftheapex.com if you are in certain areas of the world. Don't know why. It's just the way it's set up. But
it's good that we've managed to finally stick to the schedule that we imposed on ourselves.
Unbelievable scenes. Unbelievable scenes. I'm very impressed with us both. Yes, that was always the plan. We let it slide a bit during the triple header stuff, but we got there.
Yeah, we got busy.
We got busy.
We
are back to normal
from now.
To normal schedule from now. And if I can pull up a calendar real quick, let's just riff on the outro so that I have nothing to edit to. So we've got the Dutch Grand Prix MotoGP this weekend.
Yep.
We have the Austrian Grand Prix this weekend for Formula One. British Grand Prix the week after. And the German Grand Prix the week after that. But we will be recording before the German Grand Prix.
Yes. We'll do both. The next WEC is...
Yeah, when's the next WEC?
I think it's the next one is on the 13th of July. So we've got a while.
Yes.
Wimbledon final that day.
That's the 6 hours of Sao Paulo.
Correct.
So the next episode of this podcast will include the British Grand Prix.
So 2 F1 and a
and the Dutch
GP.
Grand Prix. And we can talk about the F1 movie because hopefully
We are seeing it this
we're
week.
taking a works trip to go see it this weekend.
Yeah, we are. Company cards coming out.
Company card.
Company card that currently has £0 on it.
And then the podcast after that, we'll be able to talk about the German Grand Prix for MotoGP, the 6 Hours of Sao Paulo, and the Czech Grand Prix because it is the summer break. It's not the summer break. There's a 3-week break. Why is there a 3-week break? And then another 4-week break. Brilliant. Okay. It's the half summer break for Formula One.
It's the spring break.
Just unbelievable. 1, 2.
It's a spring break.
Yeah.
They're all going to
Was there supposed
Florida
to be another Grand
to
Prix
get
after the British Grand Prix?
twisted. When's Hungary?
Yeah, well, Hungary used to always be the last race before the summer break, right?
Yeah.
And it still is. But they've moved Belgium because Belgium used to be the first one back. They've moved Belgium and the Dutch Grand Prix because the Dutch Grand Prix was usually after Silverstone, then Hungary, then the break, then Belgium. But now Belgium is before Hungary. So Hungary is the 3rd of August.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. And then Belgium is the 27th of July, the week before. But Silverstone is the 6th of July. So there's 3 weeks between Silverstone and Spa.
And then Hungary.
And then Hungary the week after.
And then summer break.
And then the next race doesn't come back till the 31st of August, which is 4 weeks.
So that's the summer break.
So that's the summer break.
Okay. So mini summer break.
So mini summer break.
Half term.
We have basically just bikes to talk about. I think we should do a mid-season review. Ratings, rankings.
Good
like that.
idea.
Who's 5 winners, 5 losers, or something like that from the
Steal
first.
that format. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, it's not really stealing, and also Formula One themselves do it. So
Yeah,
it's not like we're stealing from other creators. We're stealing from Formula One. That's
which
okay.
is fine.
That's totally fine.
They're fine with it.
And
I spoke to them last week.
Maybe we get some guests on to give their opinions as well.
Yes,
Knowledgeable friends of the podcast.
indeed.
Indeed.com. Sponsored.
Yeah.
We're not. Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited to go into our overdraft and the company card this weekend.
Brilliant.
And we will, so movie review. I'm excited for the movie review.
I'm excited.
I'm excited for the movie.
Yeah.
Have you seen the popcorn buckets?
I have.
The Apex helmets? Oh my God, they're so cool.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Apex hat
Yeah,
on brand
good.
for this podcast.
You better wear it on. You better wear it the
yellow-
weekend.
It's not an official merch t-shirt, but it's still yellow.
That's
And
because
if I-
there isn't any official merch.
If I cut
t-shirts.
out this logo, it can look like an official t-shirt
Oh,
in the
that's cool.
clips that we make. Yeah.
that's cool.
Maybe we get some merch going in the summer break too.
Oh yeah, because we don't. Luckily, the market really indicates that we have tons of people wanting to buy merch.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, we'll end it there. We will see you in 2 weeks' time, where we will be discussing lots of bikes and a little bit of Formula One.
Lots of bikes, all of the bikes.
Oh no, wait! This is the one that's all of the Formula One and not so much bikes.
This
And then
is
the one after that is lots of bikes and not so much.
Can you tell
Formula
this
One.
bit was not planned or structured at all?
Yeah, we've been so coherent up to this point, and then we just ramble at the end for like 20 minutes.
So we'll see you in 2 weeks. 2 double F1, 1 bikes, and then after that, it's all the bikes.
It's all the bikes.
All the bikes.
All right. See you next time.
Peace.